Imagine you've just been given the job of creating, 50 or 100 or 500 business cards, and they want QR codes on so that contact details can be captured quickly with a mobile. How are you going to do it? Well, if you want to find out, you're in the right place, and that's here in the Work Smarter Not Harder dojo with me, Tony Harmer, aka the Design Ninja. So our journey here doesn't actually begin inside of InDesign. It actually starts in Excel. And what I've got here is a very, very simple spreadsheet. And I've got a row across the top that have all of my different column headers. And I've called this F name for first name, L name for last name, J title for job title, and P number for phone number. Of course, your data may vary. Now, if you've been given this by somebody in an organization that you work for, or even a client, you could ask them to provide this data in the format that you need it, because they've probably got access to everything they need, and they've probably got someone who can put it into a spreadsheet, because this will be the easiest way for you to do it. And also, if you get them to do it, then you don't have to worry about mistakes, because any mistakes really essentially are there. So if they come back to you and say, there's a mistake with this, then of course it's something you could potentially bill for correcting, because it's not your error. So in here then I've got a list. I've kept this one fairly short. I've got just 50 inside of here. So I've got a first name, okay, as you've seen, a last name, a job title, and a phone number. Let's just have a quick look at the job title, because some of these are quite long, okay, and it's a good idea to work out which of these is the longest. And here we can see it fairly visually. If I just zoom out and just have a look here, you can see that this one, National Applications Representative, I think is clearly the longest. And it's always a good idea when you're creating documents that work with data to try and find out what the longest thing is in that. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll do a straightforward business card data merge here with this information. And then after that, we're going to crank it up several notches and actually create some QR codes at the same time. So back to InDesign then, I'm going to create a new document. Now, my printer has said, yeah, we want these on an A3 sheet. So I'll go ahead and choose A3 just here. I actually don't need any margins. They told me that specifically. So I'm just going to put 0 into the margins just there and hit create like so, because they will print on a sheet that is somewhat larger than actually A3. But always consult with your print service provider to find out what they want before you actually start setting up the document. So the first thing to actually do here is to introduce a new layer, and I'm going to call this new layer trim. Okay, like so, and I'm going to set it to non-printing by deselecting print layer just there in the layer options, okay, because it's just there to do something else for us later on. Okay, then I'm going to tap M to get the rectangle tool and simply click. Now, business cards vary in sizes between different parts of the world, but I'm going to go roughly with something here. I'm working in millimeters, like 85, okay, by 53. And that's not too far off the American size, which I think is 3 inches, or just over 3 inches by 2. But it doesn't matter. You can find out that information anywhere, and your client may well have a different size that they want to use, because while there are international standards, you don't necessarily have to adhere to them. Okay, so if I can just select that, what I'm going to do is just move that up to this point here. And I'll zoom in like so, so it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. Now, for the time being, I'm just going to lock the trim layer just there, and I'm going to go to layer 1 and start building this very simple business card. So I'll start off by dropping the logo in that I've got here for this, if you can call it a logo, but anyway, there we go. Let's just do that. So that's the logo part done from Super Amazing Company, just there like so. Not to be confused with any company actually called Super Amazing Company. This is a fictitious version of that company. And then I'm going to need some text frames for the information. So let's just review the information we've got. We've got a first name, a last name, a job title, and a phone number. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a text frame just here. Now you could do all of this in one text frame if you wanted to. Okay, I think I'm going to do mine in separate text frames here. So the name is what's going to go in this particular place. So I'll just put my name in here just for the moment. And then of course you'd go and style that the way that it needs to be styled. And you should of course be using all of your regular InDesign skills to do this, of course. Okay, so I'll just go with the Avenir book just here for that. And what size is that at? That's at 12 points, and that's quite big, but we could be bigger. So let's go with 13 there, like so. Now notice that the text frame here, again, is longer than it needs to be, and you should always be scanning for what the longest thing is you're likely to come in here. Now to me, Christopher looks to be like the longest one, but I need to imagine that Christopher is married up with Pennington just there. Okay, so that would be a good idea for me to put that in and see if it fits. So let's try that. Let's just do Christopher. Oh, you can see already that it's not going to fit, right? So, we need to think about that. So I'll select everything here. Now, I could either make the frame bigger. If the text size was meant to be 13, then of course I'd make it larger. Okay, but 11 is probably pretty good, all right, from there for this purpose. Anyway, so I'll just go ahead. I'm actually going to increase the weight of that. I'm just going to use Avenir next here just for the moment. I think I'll go for Demi. Just here, Demi bold. There we are. Perfect. That's nice. Like that. Okay, now you could do other things here, such as set the frame alignment. So I've just done Command B for the frame options here and set this to align to the center of the frame. Okay, like so. So I could do that. That would be one thing that might be handy. Underneath that, okay, in fact, you know what? I'm going to make the surname a different weight here. Let's go with medium for that one. So let's say that their first name is the thing that's important. Hi, I'm Christopher. There you are, see? Then we're going to want the job title under here. So let's go back to the data and find that particular job title and copy it. Okay, and then come and paste that into here. Well, that's going to be significantly larger there. So we'll go ahead and make that somewhat smaller. Okay. And in fact, let's make sure we're selecting everything in that and make it smaller. There we go, like so. Whoops-a-daisy. And I'll bring that down. There we go. That's kind of nice. I think also I'm going to do that in maybe regular or ultralight. That might look nice. We could increase the size actually. There we go. So that's going underneath there. So the job title appear underneath there. Okay, and then of course we want the phone number. Now the phone number is quite important, so we might pop that somewhere else. Of course your design will vary wildly from this. From here, what I'm going to do is pop a plus at the beginning of this, because if we just look at the data here, okay, you'll see that these all start with 44, right? The UK country code here. Now, normally you would put a plus in front of these, okay, to show people that it is the international number that they'll be dialing, all right? But I'm going to just pop the plus here. Reason is, if you pop a plus into an Excel sheet, right, it thinks you want to do a formula and add something from somewhere else. So I'm going to leave that out, and then I'm just going to put 0000 space 1 2 3 4 5 6 zeros, because that's the normal amount in a phone number, I guess, for the UK. Yours may vary, of course, and you might need to use dot notation and all of that good stuff. That doesn't really matter. It's all fine. And I'll just take this one to medium here, like so. All right, so there we go. We've got the logo at the top. We've got the name. We've got the job title underneath that, and we've got the phone number. Now is the time to marry that up with some data. So we'll go to the window menu and we'll come down to utilities and choose data merge, and the data merge panel will open, and it actually tells you what to do. This is a really handy little panel. So when you've finished watching this and you're doing one for yourself, this will help you to remember what to do. But just before we do that, let's pop back to our data here, okay, because an Excel spreadsheet won't work. What you need to do is you need to save out a version of that as comma-separated values. Now, you can use comma-separated or tab-separated values, whichever makes the most sense to you. Okay, but make sure you use this one, straightforward comma-separated values, and not the UTF-8 version, because sometimes you get errors with that. Okay, also, what you need to be aware of is if you've typed data in any other cell here and removed it, that can also generate an error. So the best thing to do is to target any columns you might have used and then use this delete command in Excel. Of course, your editor may be slightly different, but choose delete sheet columns and that clears that down, or at least it should do. Anyway, we've already got this as a CSV, so I'll just go back here, okay, and to the flyout and choose select data source. Okay, and what I've got is this one just here. Let's quickly preview that. There you go, it's exactly the right set. Okay, and we'll open that up, and there we are. That means there is a connection now between, okay, this data, okay, and our artwork. So I'm going to double click the first name just here, and I'm going to click on F name to connect that up. Okay, now what I might need to do temporarily, I'm just going to hold down the command key here to go ahead. Whoops a daisy, I need to hit escape now. I'm just going to go actually to the selection tool here and just make this frame larger. Okay, and target that and then connect that to the last name. That sometimes happens, and really, to be honest, the frame's invisible anyway, so it doesn't really matter. This whole thing here, the job title, will be connected to that. You can see which page it's on as well. And then finally, I'm just going to grab these numbers just here and connect those to the P number. Now, if we want to see if this is working properly, okay, what we can do is hit preview just here, and then we can start to make our way using these forward and backward arrows here through all of the different things here. Now, I only really changed the first few names. Well, the names are all unique, but some of the numbers will be the same, I think. There we go. We've got all of those different things there. Perfect. We can go right the way back to the beginning and so on. Once you've done that, okay, then we're almost ready to create the actual document. But first, let's tackle the QR code thing. Then we can make all the documents at the same time. Now, looking at the data now, what we've got is we've got an additional column that is prefixed with a hashtag, right? So it says hash QR just there. That will tell InDesign that it needs to generate a QR code from this data. And then I've got the necessary information here to create a fairly rudimentary virtual card. Now, this is difficult to look at inside of this spreadsheet, and you'll see that I did only change like the first few here. All of the others are exactly the same. Okay, but let's have a look at what that data actually means. All right, so here it is in a slightly larger format here. Okay, and so we've got this begin VCard. Whenever you see this \n, that just means new line. Okay, but that's something that's in there. Then it has the version, which is required. It must have the version in there. So this is version 2.1. Then you can see there's a line break. Then it has this abbreviation, FN. You can't just make these up, by the way. There is a standard, and Wikipedia has a list of all of the things you could put in. Okay, but FN just means first and last name. Okay, so here you've got Charles Ambrose, new line. Then it says this is a telephone number. Note the colon there, and then it has the phone number, new line. Then it has the email after that. Okay, charles.ambrose@superamacom.tv. Okay, then a new line, and then this part, end VCard, okay, is the end of the card. That says stop the card at this point. Here it is in big for you just to have a look at for a moment. Okay, so you don't have line breaks inside of the cell. They look exactly the way they do at the top there. Okay, but that's all of the information in big. And like I said, you can go to Wikipedia for that information if you need to. Okay, so back to the data then, just here. We've got all of this, and back to InDesign. We'll just pop back there. Okay, and what we'll do is we'll go to the flyout at the top. This time we're going to choose Remove Data Source. From here, it just says it's going to remove it from everywhere that it's currently in use. That's just fine. And then we're going to select a data source. Okay, and then we've got one here with the QR list. Okay, and we can see that it's a CSV just there. So let's open that up. Now we've got a small field here for QR. Let's just go ahead. If I turn on preview, you can see it's actually held on to those links, and we could see that it's got the double chevrons to the left, F name, double chevrons to the right from there. So all of those things are attached to variables. When we turn on the preview, okay, we can see that, but we have not yet created our QR. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the frame tool. We're going to tap F for the frame tool. Okay, then we're going to determine how big it's going to be. So I'm going to hold down Shift because QRs tend to be square. Then get my selection tool, tap V for that, and put that in place. Mine's going to go right just down here in the corner. Then we go to the data just here and click on QR. And you'll now see that it says QR inside of there. Let's do a quick preview. And there we are. We'll move through. You'll see this change for the first few entries. Then it will look a bit samey. And there we go. Now there are things changing because the names are changing. Okay, but they're not changing the information too much. And that means if you scan that, it would ask you if you wanted to add that as a contact. It's a really nice way to give people your phone number and your email and a load of other information at once. Here, I think, if I remember correctly, we've only got the phone number and the email in there, but that's still very, very useful to have in a format. You can capture it that way. Okay, so now we know that the format works, we need to, of course, output these in a way. So I'm going to zoom out, in fact, Command 0, Control 0 to go to the whole thing. I'm going to unlock my trim layer, although this should work without that anyway. Okay, then I'll go to the flyout here and choose Create Merged Document. Okay, so what we can choose here, and we should get a little preview. Okay, so we're going to use all of the records. Okay, we're going to generate an overset text report because that way, if there's something we've missed, if we haven't got one of the line lengths right, then it will tell us and alert us when images are missing. Well, we're not using images here, so that's not to worry about. We'll go to multiple record layout here. Okay, and it tells me that single record is selected. I didn't notice that. I thought I'd put all records in there. Okay, so there we go, 1 to 50. Like so. I thought I had got all records there. Ah, just here. There we go. Easy mistake to make. So even though I've been doing this for years, I forget about that. Now we've got the options here. Well, margins, I don't need any really, although I'll put some in just for giggles. Let's have 5mm around the edge there. Arrange by rows first or columns first. Between columns, definitely want a gap there, and I want 10mm between those, and between rows I want 10mm as well. Now let's turn on the preview. Okay, and it will start to generate a layout for us. That's just fine. So that's going to work pretty well. From there, let's go to the options. Okay, so if there are any images, you can choose that to fill them or fit or all of that good stuff. From there, we don't need to worry because we haven't got any images or links. Okay, we don't have to worry about any of those things. And all we need to do now is hit OK. All right, so that script will run basically and fix the layout. It creates a new document for us, tells us that there's no overset text. Great. All we now need to do is to add the trim and cut lines for this piece of artwork. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the scripts. This is where having that little bit of space around the edge there will be actually very, very useful. I'll go to application. I'll go to samples. I'm going to go to JavaScript because they work on both. Scroll down. I'm going to choose crop marks JSX just here. Okay. And I'm going to turn off or lock layer 1 just there. Okay, so once I've got that, I'm going to double click, okay, and select an object. In fact, I'll select everything on this layer by clicking in the proxy area just there. Remember, that will be throughout the document because there are more than one pages in this. Okay, so by selecting that, it should run for all. Okay, so Command A would also do that, or should do that. Do crop marks, double click on that. We can then set up the crop marks just here. So 6 points is just fine, offset by 3 points, 0.25 for the stroke weight. Don't want registration marks, the printer will take care of that. And do it around each object, just there like so. Hit OK. That script will run. We've now got crop marks for each of those things. Let's see if they carried on to the next page. Okay, on the next page, we'd have to do the same again, but it's not a huge job of work. And with all of the time that you've saved on this particular job, okay, that will be a real bonus. You've got the time to come and double click for the script a few times. Perfect. Okay, there we go. They've all got crop marks. They're all ready. The crop marks have gone onto their own layer, so we can actually either turn off or delete the trim layer just there. And there we are. That's how we can do our artwork, okay, for our business cards using data and generating a QR code in InDesign. And I hope you found that useful and you've enjoyed it. Do let me know in the comments. But for now, we're done, and I'll see you next time here in the Work Smarter Not Harder Dojo. See ya.